back, guys. Hope everybody's having a great day today. I definitely am. I just recently revisited my favorite exploitation film of all time, and one thing we're gonna learn about me right now, if we haven't already figured this out, and I don't think we have because I've never talked about it really, but I'm a sucker for exploitation films. I love exploitation films. I Spit on Your Grave is great. Hobo with the Shotgun, I love that movie. All kinds of different exploitation films, and I like them when they're good. I'm a huge sucker for them when they're good. This one we're about to talk about is good. It is called The Last House on the Left, directed by Wes Craven. This is his directorial debut, and it's possibly one of my all-time favorites. Let's get into why it's one of my all-time favorites and why I think it's more than just alright. Some people think this movie is just alright, and that's fine. You know, it does have some problems that we'll get into, but for right now, we'll go ahead and discuss the story if you don't know it already. It's about this girl named Mary Collingwood. She's getting ready to go out to a concert with her friend Phyllis, and then they finally go out to the concert, and everything's going fine, you know, and a key element here is that the concert's in a bad neighborhood, and they decide while they're in a bad neighborhood that they're going to score some weed. Because, you know, asking people for drugs in a bad neighborhood is going to get you, you know, somewhere in life. According to these two bozos. So, they find this guy named Junior who's outside smoking a joint, apparently, I believe. And they ask him if he has weed, and he's like, yeah, I'll take it to my apartment, and we'll get it, and all that. And they go up there, and then things start getting ugly when he locks the door and people start coming out of nowhere. Criminals that are wanted by the police. We have Krug, who is wanted for, I believe, murder and rape. We got, can't remember the other guy's name, who is a peeping Tom. They call it peeping Tomism, and that's not really a thing. I don't believe peeping Tomism is a real thing. But according to this movie, it is, and we got Sadie, who is a psychopath. I don't believe she's done anything. She's just a crazy mental bitch. And then we have Junior, who kind of doesn't really want to be involved in this, but he knows he has to, or he's gonna, you know, suffer the consequences. So in the apartment, they get raped, and you know, all that nice shit, and then when all that's over and done with, it's not really over and done with. It's really, we're going to go continue it out in the woods. So they take him out in the woods, and oddly enough, the car breaks down right over by Mary Collingwood's house, where her parents are, and we're going to get into that. The events of rape and murder take place out in the woods, so the villains go up to Mary Collingwood's house, and her parents happen to be there, and at first they're very hospitable and all that. They feed them, give them a place to stay, and then the mom overhears them talking about it, about what happened and whatnot, so she goes and searches the bag and finds blood-soaked clothing in the bag. And then after that, they start catching on, and shit hits the fan from there, and the predator become the prey. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the pros to this movie. Just the cinematography I really love. I love old movies from the 70s and some from the 60s as well. I love the grittiness and the tone, especially the tone when shit starts hitting the fan. Especially during the rape scene, and I don't condone rape by any means, but I like when a rape scene in a movie, and it feels really weird to say, but I like when something like that happens in a movie and the cinematography makes it feel so real, and the acting along with it has to fit a certain criteria, and I feel like that's what the acting did here from the girl that played Mary Collingwood. Her acting was so convincing that I really felt like she was being raped and murdered, attacked. She didn't get murdered when she got raped. That was a little after, but there were some things but we'll go ahead and talk about it in the cons. I don't want to get into it right now. Another pro I have is the third act is absolutely incredible. It is so violent. It's so gritty. It's so grim. It's so it's so exploitation film like, and I feel like it does it to a point where it made me feel sick to my stomach. There is a certain scene in here, spoiler alert, give you a second to click off in case you haven't seen it. Okay. Mary's mom seduces one of, I think his name was Fred. I'm not sure. I believe that was the one guy's name who I didn't know the name to at the time, but I think it's come back to me. I believe his name was Fred. They decide to go for a walk outside, and she starts seducing him and unzips his little wang there and sucks it off, and then sucks it off with her teeth, and I mean, she bites his dick off, and he's screaming. That made me feel sick to my stomach. Like, I don't think I'll ever be able to have a boner again. I can't believe I just openly admitted that on the internet. Oh well, you know what? That's human. That's life. That's just how the human body works. So I'm not really ashamed to admit it. That was very gross. Okay, the numerous times that I've seen the scene, I have to keep my legs crossed because I don't want some mysterious lady coming up and biting my dick off while I'm trying to watch this movie. I mean, all I have to do really is just... But, I mean, he couldn't have done that because his hands were tied behind his back because he was the genius that wanted his hands tied behind his back. But, yeah, that was incredible. I mean, it was so incredible. If it makes me feel sick, it means you did something right. And I like the soundtrack to an extent. Okay, the soundtrack fit into a lot of areas to an extent. And the second half of this statement goes into the cons, which we're going to go ahead and get into now. The cons, some of the music felt really out of place. And I'm talking specifically only when the two idiot cops show up. And the reason I didn't mention them when I was kind of giving a plot synopsis of the film here is because they don't play any importance into this film. They just run around and act like idiots. And that's one of my problems with this movie. There's no need for these dumbass fucking cops to be in this movie. They are funny, but it takes me out of the mood because it's not supposed to be a funny movie. This is supposed to be a serious exploitation film. That when I see funny cops and funny music playing in the background, that's not really what comes to mind when I think exploitation film. You know, I don't come into an how many of you have come into an exploitation film and laughed? Other than maybe the I Spit on Your Grave remake, because that was a shit show. I'm talking about who has went into a good exploitation film that didn't strike you as a comedy and laughed? Nobody. And I shouldn't have been laughing during this movie. And that's one of my problems with it. Another one, I feel like some of the cinematography is... There's some dirtiness to it, and it's almost to the point where I can't bear to look at it. Because, like, okay, when I'm watching... It may just be because I got a bad copy, but I don't believe so. I could have gotten a bad copy, but when I watch it, there's certain scenes, there'd be this little black string of something that would be up like on the top or the left hand in the corner on the left or something. There'd be this little light. I don't know what it was. It was about this long. It was black. It would just kind of hang on the lens a little bit, and that kind of interfered with me getting engaged with the film because that just caught my attention. And I have a very short attention span at times, and that kind of got on my nerves a little bit. And there were times where there was dirt on the screen, and I felt like, you know, if you had just wiped that off the lens, we wouldn't have this problem. Another problem I somewhat have with this movie, it shouldn't be to the point where it would make me not like the movie, because I love this fucking movie, but the criminals they're good characters. Like, I don't dread seeing them when they come on screen. But they're fucking idiots in this movie. You know, like, before raping somebody, they carve their name into somebody's chest. Now, I don't know what possessed them to do such. I don't know why they would do that. I guess maybe because they feel like getting caught quicker. And, you know, when they're changing their clothes, getting rid of the blood-soaked clothing, and I should not have said getting rid of it, because that'll contradict what I say right now, They bring the blood-soaked clothing with them. Okay, so you just committed a major crime. You raped 2 girls and then killed them. Their blood is on your clothing and you bring it with you? That's not necessarily something that would come to my mind if I was trying to hide the fact that I committed a crime like that. I would ditch the clothing. I would bury it or something. I mean, surely to God, in that fucking Cadillac, you have a shovel there in the back. If you're that hardened of criminals, I mean, how you gonna hide a dead body then? They don't. They these criminals, they're just borderline retarded in this movie, and it does kind of get a little annoying at times. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just nitpicking it, but I think I'm just kind of overthinking it a little bit. You know, I mean, if you put it into perspective a little bit, it's kind of, oh, they just committed crime. You know, what are they gonna do? Okay, we'll bring the blood-soaked and see, that still doesn't make sense. Like, okay, so the cops are out there that could possibly be looking for us. I got an idea. Let's bring all the evidence that we committed this crime with us, so that way we can get caught quicker. And that's not very smart. And going back into the pros a little bit, I love the ending fight between the dad, Mary Collingwood's dad, and what's his name? I can't remember the guy's name. The main villain, the guy with the curly-headed guy. I thought that fight was really awesome because it just kind of exploited his stupidity a little bit. The villain. The dad gets a chainsaw. He gets a chainsaw. And I found it just absolutely funny how the main villain would pick up stuff to defend himself with it, but the stuff that he was defending himself with was wooden. And what cuts through wood? A chainsaw. He's like, everything in his sight is just wood, and it's not anti-chainsaw repellent. It's anti-chainsaw repellent not. I sound like Yoda. It's not able to withstand an attack with a chainsaw. You know, it's wood. Wood gets cut easily by sharp objects. So that didn't really work out in his favor, so the dad finally kills him, and then the stupid idiot cops show up, and the 2 idiot cops that serve no purpose to the plot. That's basically, that's really my biggest issue with the movie, is the cops. They spend the cops do have quite a bit of screen time, I feel, and I feel like they shouldn't have been in the movie at all. Because in the remake, there's no cops in the movie, and that's kind of what makes it a little bit better in that aspect. But overall, I love this movie. I think it's a great exploitation movie. I don't want to say it's my favorite movie, but it's one of them. And it's just, like I said, it's the dark, gritty cinematography of this movie that really sells it for me. So, yeah, that's my review for The Last House on the Left, the original. The next film I'll be reviewing is The Last House on the Left remake. Hope everybody enjoyed this video. It was a pleasure to make. I don't normally talk about films I really like. I kind of take requests from people on Facebook. But I'm glad to finally take the time to talk about a film that I personally enjoy a lot, that I wanted to talk about at my own will. So, yeah, I appreciate you all for watching. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and peace.